It was told to us that Dot and Bubble was going to be the Black Mirror episode of Doctor Who. Black Mirror is another anthology show designed to be more of a cautionary tale about how our current use of technology can be mishandled. Be it by torturing some AI clones, using your eyeball to catch your wife cheating, making a politician f a pig, and even f***ing your gamer bro. Usually these episodes come with some kind of warning about how technology can be used for good or evil, but mostly evil. RTD said this episode would draw inspiration from Black Mirror, and, well, I guess. Oh shit! They're a bunch of racists! So while this is technically not a Dr. Light episode, it is a Dr. Light episode in that Ruby and the Doctor only appear in person at the end and are mainly seen as a hologram in the Dot and Bubble program. What is Dot and Bubble, you ask? Dot is a metallic BB that can project a hologram bubble around your head that is basically the everything app that Elon Musk wants to do, except it looks cooler. And it's here we meet our unfortunately named character, Lindey Pepper-Bean, waking up for another day in Fine Time. Some under-the-dome city on an uninhabited moon on an unnamed homeworld. We don't know much about Homeworld other than the Doctor must have gone there at some point because there's a daughter of Sutek living there that gave birth to Lindey Pepper-Bean and sent her to this dome city. Turns out that Fine Time is a city made up of uber-rich kids from Homeworld that are sent there to work 2 hours a day, party, and oogle over this 45-year-old looking TikTok star. They pretty much never take off these stupid social media bubbles except to charge it and sleep, and have to be told how to walk and when to pee. You know, like those darn kids today. Also, shout out Dr. P, you are my favorite. Oh, and these rich kids are a bunch of racist. But the sentient AI that runs everything, including the Dot and Bubble, has had enough of their vapid horse, both on Fine Time and in Homeworld, and has a bunch of giant slugs start to eat all of them. So the Doctor and Ruby can't seem to get into the bubble, both literally and figuratively, so they have to infiltrate into Lindey Pepper-Bean's social media and convince the little brat to come out of her comfort zone for 2 seconds and look around to see the danger she's in. Luckily, I guess she eventually does, figures out how to walk a little bit without the bubble, runs into Ricky September, the aforementioned TikTok star who seems level-headed enough to take the Doctor's place as the hero in this episode, and helps this bubble-headed ditz to the place that the Doctor told her to go to get away from the slugs. And then the AI decides to use the Dot as a weapon, and is just about to kill Lindey Pepper-Bean because she's next in line in the alphabet, when she betrays Ricky September by pointing out his real name comes before hers and kills him instead, giving her time to get out. She joins the only other vapid pukes that listened to the Doctor and got out by other doors, apparently. I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, the Doctor and Ruby are there, and Lindey Pepper-Bean acts how a normal rich person does when people are not like them, and then, to make you not like her and the rest of her little wanker friends so much harder, they bully the Doctor with religious bigotry and outright racism, presumably because he's black. For some reason, the Doctor gets upset that these dumbasses won't accept his help, and the shit stains sail off into certain doom. So, what did I think? Well, let's start with things that I liked. I liked the aesthetic of the episode a lot. The clean pastels made everything look a little too perfect for your brain, but it was very bright, and it was made to look similar to the Black Mirror episode Nosedive, since it had surface-level themes that had some kind of synergy, I guess. But when not faced with long hallways or another rock quarry, you know Doctor Who spent some money, and I appreciate that. Sure, the slugs looked CG, but not cartoonish, and since they weren't the actual villains in the episode, their campiness was kind of funny. It's funny to watch rich assholes get swallowed up by giant insects. I liked you a lot, Ricky September. Admittedly, I didn't know much about him, but when he gets betrayed, I was pretty shocked. I started liking him as soon as I figured out I could trust him. But I did find it interesting how many of us are trained by Doctor Who to distrust people that act exactly like the Doctor would in a crisis like this. Ricky here puts himself right out there like our Doctor surrogate to help Lindey in every way possible. He helps her to walk, he puts her at ease, he takes control, he hides the bad news to address the immediate threat. He seems clever, he reads, he can push buttons that make no sense. He doesn't have the bubble on him all the time, he's heroic, and he's charming. But damn it, as soon as he showed up on the screen for my first viewing, I fully expected him to be the one behind the giant slugs. I didn't trust this guy until he started playing baseball with the BBs. And then the betrays him and we get the Magneto kill. I liked the actress that played Lindey Pepper-Bean. It's not easy to play someone with no redeeming qualities that you can still be shocked by when she betrays Ricky. I didn't like her immediately, and I continued to find her annoying all throughout the episode. But I didn't expect her to be capable of killing her thirst trap after she was fawning all over him. Like, I knew she was selfish, but I didn't know how far it would escalate. Things I didn't like. Hey guys, this isn't a Black Mirror episode. It isn't even close. Okay, sure. The black colors and non-practical technology of this dot and bubble have a passing resemblance to a Black Mirror episode, but to say this is the Black Mirror episode of Doctor Who is really stretching, and honestly a little offensive to Black Mirror. Most of the time, the moral of any Black Mirror episode is, sure, technology can help you do it, but should you? Sure, you can rewind memories with your eyeballs and watch them back, but you can also pick up on clues that your wife is cheating on you. Sure, you can clone your dead boyfriend's AI into an actual person and after a bit of machine learning, but it ends up being a pasty General Hux. Sure, you can have bees again, but you will lose the Sorcerer Supreme. What is the moral of this episode? Try not to be racist because your social media platform may try to kill you? Because, hey, TikTok overlords, isn't it about high time the algorithm did something about this stuff? I sort of already mentioned that I didn't like the main character, but Karen Pepper-Spleen, you didn't even have to be a racist cunt for me not to like you. I wasn't a fan from the moment that you put that digital bubble around your already stupid bubble head. Hell, you didn't even need to be rich or some kind of religious zealot. You're just a selfish pain in the ass that won't face reality and would rather dance to songs written by a dude that looks like a serial killer on his own album, but in all honesty has a passing resemblance to Ricky September. I don't like your dumb bangs, your stupid friends, even you, Gothic Paul, and your inane names. Speaking of their names, Hoochie Pie? Good job, Mom and Dad. Might as well have just named her Whore. How does this squatty-looking Jackson Pollock color chart have 42,000 subscribers when Blake Very Blue has only 17.5 thousand? Fuck, even on Fine Time people follow idiots. This alphabetical order the sentient AI decides to kill people in is stupid. In fact, the whole thing it does to kill these people off is really dumb. So understandably, the AI gets sick of these stains and decides to kill them all. No notes there. I support you. I assume all the people on Homeworld are knuckles as well, since the AI set off to killing them too. And so it creates life, I guess? Either that or it augments these mutant slugs and programs them to somehow kill everyone. And it does this in alphabetical order? But later you just use the dot like a bullet to off Ricky September. Now I don't know if the normies on Homeworld have the dot and bubble or if this thing is just in Fine Time, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Homeworld uses it too because of the aforementioned Hoochie Pie having 42,000 subscribers, and Fine-Time not looking exactly like it has the population the size of Manhattan, considering the roominess of Pepperfart's apartment and the small gaggle of scrotum gremlins that sail off to their deaths at the end. Anyway, it just feels weird that you needed to be so organized and go down the alphabet like a teacher doing roll call, rather than just murdering them all at the same time with the magic bullet that floats in front of their faces. Also, WTF, Doctor? You couldn't figure out that it was going alphabetically? Holy hell's bells! I'm sorry, but I'm used to you being one step ahead of everybody mentally instead of getting stumped by a puzzle for a first grader. Yeah, sorry, I don't buy that the TARDIS could not get into the dome. Typically speaking, the TARDIS is plenty powerful enough to blow past most security. This thing has materialized in some pretty heavily secured places before. Forget Downing Street or the White House, this thing has materialized on Dalek motherships, Skaro, the Shadow Proclamation headquarters, the Vault of Rassilon. You're telling me the numpy sticks on Homeworld could either figure out or hire someone smart enough to outsmart Time Lord technology, but not smart enough to stop an AI from enslaving slugs to eat them? Hell, the Sonic got past the firewall for Whitegram or whatever. One would think that a sentient TARDIS could get past the plot of a Stephen King novel.
What?
Things I didn't understand. So, why is the slug in Lindsay Pumpkin Spice's room at the very beginning? It's safe to say that the slugs are up to the M's in the alphabet, and sure, there may be a lot of them, but it seems a bit inefficient and a bit of a risk to the whole operation to have this slug in her room at this point. I mean, she is at least capable of seeing past the bubble.
So the rest of the time, we party.
I get the feeling that your definition of party and my definition of party are two different things. Honestly, if partying for these wank stains is jumping around to Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini, or Ricky September's next version of One-Eyed One-Horned Flying Purple People Eaters, I'm a pass. Hey, if the bubble can open like this, it kind of feels like the Doctor could figure out how to manipulate it with the Sonic, and he could just see what was going on rather than relying on Peppercorn McStupidface to tell him what's going on every 5 seconds. I don't understand how all these people got out. Pepperbitch didn't have time to give these idiots a full-scale understanding of what they needed to do to get out of Fine Time, and it took Ricky September punching a series of numbers into a keypad every few seconds and taking batting practice on a steel ball. Frankly, if this many of the dildo waffles were able to make it out and outsmart their murderous social media weapons, maybe they won't instantly die out in the wilds. Speaking of Ricky, was he a racist too? Like, I don't know his politics or anything, but he feels pretty genuine about helping the people around him, and instead of yapping all day with the piss goblins from Fine Time, actually reads. Maybe he's not so much of a racist, but actually a fraud. Because we already know that he lies about his real name, and he looks like a guy that is about to step over the hill with a fresh haircut singing songs from a bygone era that somehow turned viral. Or he just would have been one of the nicest slave owners that didn't whip the help as hard. Yeah, I realize the majority of this review is already nitpicking, but for the really special ones we have Nitpick Corner! So, Gothic Paul has less than 400 subscribers, but is friends with Lindey, who is also friends with Hoochie, who has over 42,000. Hey, I'm sorry, Gothic Paul, but in real life, your ass wouldn't get to be seen with these popular kids. The Sutex Surprise. Like I said in the premise, we got another Mary-Do twist. Now, if I'm to understand the finale correctly, Every place Sutek travels with the Doctor since the period of Mars, he's been populating that place with a twist at the end. Every place gets a Mary-Do. So that means at some point the Doctor visited Homeworld. Now, it's possible that Susan Mary-Do Twist traveled from another planet and settled down on Homeworld, but I don't know what the interplanetary travel policies this planet has are, so I think it's far more likely that Susan Pepper-Bean was born here. But doesn't that also mean that another Susan Pepper-Bean was born or brought forth or whatever from Sutek traveling here now with the Doctor? Or does Sutek have a one Mary-Do per planet per lifetime rule? And if not, think about all the times that the Doctor has materialized on Earth. There is no f***ing way that Susan Mary-Do hasn't bumped into Susan Twist that had ran into Susan Von Sillystring in London. Also, are you telling me that UNIT hasn't noticed this yet? Sure, we find out later that they know about Susan Twist, but yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself again. At least I was spared the Ruby-induced snow for 2 weeks in a row. Okay, I can't put it off any longer. Let's talk about the ending. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. I'm white. So is Russell T Davies. So are all the current producers of this show. So is the head of the BBC. So is the head of Disney. I'm not begrudging anyone's current position or their skin color. I say that to say my experience watching this episode is going to be vastly different from anyone that isn't white and experienced that I have not experienced. And even that fairly carefully worded statement is likely to piss off a subset of people that share my color and gender. But suffices to say that my reviews are typically about my experience watching the episode, which obviously is highly subjective. So then, how effective is this ending? The whole episode hinges on it. Now, my experience as a white guy was, oh shit, they're a bunch of racists! Look, the Doctor is still trying to save them, and they still reject him? Fuck those rich assholes. They deserve to die in the wilderness. Which is exactly what the episode was going for. Because I'm the target audience. I'm supposed to think, oh man, I'm so unaware of the plight of other races, I didn't pick up on the clues. And I didn't. And that's right, and the episode was effective as a white guy. But how effective was it outside of people like me? It's not for me to say. But even if you're not like me and you still had that same experience, I wouldn't be shocked because throughout its history, Doctor Who is a pretty white show. Obviously, it's trying to change that, and we'll see how well it does going forward, but it's still historically pretty white. If a person of color had the same reaction that I did and didn't see it coming, it was probably because this show just sort of has been like that. Unless it's beating you over the head with the message that being racist is bad, this episode really just comes off as a bunch of spoiled white people that are only slightly less rude to the white girl than they are to the black man until the very end when this talks about voodoo and granola over here talks about being contaminated. Everything else is coded in a way that recontextualizes everything once you know the end, and that's what it's going for. The Doctor has a long history of dealing with the Daleks' hatred of all things not Dalek, or the Cyberman's disdain for anything not upgraded. There's very little subtlety to the allegories to Nazis and colonialism. To me, the Doctor has seen racism taken to a much farther extreme than some snotty rich kids not realizing that they're sailing to their doom because they find black people icky or because of their religion. So why the big reaction? It feels a bit weak is what I'm saying. Look, I'm fine with this incarnation of the Doctor leaning into the save everyone no matter what they believe or how they are, because that's pretty typical Doctor behavior. I'm even fine with him being frustrated by the bigotry and the stupidity, but I have trouble believing that it would be something that he would be shocked by. And that's the vibe that I get from Ncuti's reaction. Like I said, I'm not qualified to speak on the experience of someone who has to deal with this kind of dumb f***ery every day. I don't have to. I'm lucky. So it feels like the gotcha ending was really aimed at people like me. And in that, I feel like it succeeded at making white people stop and think about what it must be like for black people every day. But I feel like this isn't what they really go through every day. What they go through seems a bit stronger than having one planet of rich kids be ignorant and him getting to run off to the next planet where dreamy white dudes want to kiss him. I don't begrudge that the issue of his skin color was addressed at all, but I kind of feel like it would have been better served in a historical episode, or maybe not written by a white guy to white guys. So Dot and Bubble was a hard one for me. It's one of the rare times that I liked it so much less the second time after seeing it and enjoying it the first time. But even though the targeted ending got me the first time, the second watch, I really didn't find anything redeeming. Now, I know I'm not supposed to anyway, but I feel like I might be a lot more introspective about the ending if these morons weren't so damn useless even without the racism tag. Plus, not a whole lot happens in this episode. Until she gets to Ricky September, the only thing that we see Lindey Pepper-Bean do is fighting people asking her to look around a room and struggling to walk without her bubble. I give Dot and Bubble a 4. Its agenda was fine, it's the execution that was lacking for me. Now I know my moderate takes will definitely generate some comments, so please feel free to tell me how much of a cuck or a red hat I am. Even bad comments tell the YouTube algorithm that the video is engaging, so it helps the cause. Or just be cool and say what's up. Also, be an awesome person and leave a like. And even better yet, prove your loyalty and subscribe. With 44 subscribers, we could rent out a conference room at a Hilton Garden Inn with name tags if we all met some weekend. The Salty Ham community is growing. Get in while we're still under 100, and you can brag to your friends about how you were a fan before I became a sellout. And as always, ham that is salty is a salty ham. Next time, we get to look at the bird shit episode. Sure, I was moved by Shooty's big reaction moment, but in context to the story, if these boring piss stains had a gun and shot the doctor, he could have just regenerated into Whitey McStuffy Bottom and they all would have trusted him again.